People with real power don't have to argue. They don't have to make their points using words. And they definitely don't have to prove themselves to others. They have this quiet confidence to them that requires no effort, whether verbally or physically. And this power is not necessarily money or political power. It's rather an intrinsic power of wisdom and knowledge, this awareness that arguments are futile by nature and that they're only a reflection of the person's, the person who has this constant need to argue, that person's unrefined character and their level of emotional intelligence. Harsh. It gets harsher. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said that the most perfidious way of harming a cause is to deliberately defend it using faulty arguments. Meaning that the very act of arguing can undermine your cause and cause it to be misunderstood and misinterpreted. You meant something, but it's going to be understood as something else. And for the extreme case of when you are arguing with pure evil, whatever that might be for you, there's another classic by Nietzsche, and it goes, "He who fights with monsters should be careful not to become one himself." Something like that. And if you gaze for too long into the abyss also gazes into you. Clearly stating that the influence that you wish to have during an argument goes both ways. And engage long enough and you slowly become the thing that you're fighting against. And in this video, I'll share with you more reasons why you shouldn't waste a breath by arguing with fools who are simply going to waste your time, or monsters who are going to gaze into you long enough and make you one of them. But before we do that, I'm just going to quickly ask you to subscribe to this channel, because here on this channel, I talk about how you can find your passion and go after it at any age, how you can find balance even at the most difficult times in your life, and how you can be happy with the things and the people you already have surrounding you. So if you're interested, make sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up to spread the message. So the need to argue comes from the need to be understood, the need to change someone's mind, or simply to win an argument. But the thing you have to know is that it's impossible. It's virtually impossible to change someone's mind, to truly change their mind unless they want to. And that there is no winning an argument. There's only a built-up of resentment on the other side. There's an accumulation of resentment on the other side. Because after having a nasty back and forth with someone, and it might feel like you have the upper hand and it feels like you have won that argument, don't think that you haven't lost anything with that person, And it doesn't matter if this person is important to you or not. But now there is definitely a crack in whatever interaction or relationship this is. So this is the thing you have to know about arguments. They are basically a lose-lose situation where you lose and the other person lose, and it's just stuff that's been said that you would have never said to each other, or just the display of the nastiness that you wouldn't otherwise. And this is just proof to you of how far people will go, of how far you even will go in order to prove your point, to be understood, or to come out of this discussion, argument, nasty back and forth, a winner. But in the end, you realize that, yes, people will go to the end of the universe to prove their point. They'll bring up all kinds of things to make their points, and they'll just lay all their dirty laundry out there for nothing. You will realize that no matter how hard you try, there is no convincing the other person, Maybe they will leave angry or whatever. You might feel like you have made your point, but in the end, you'll both realize that it was a lose-lose situation. You'll both realize that there is nothing that comes out of this except this being a record in your history where you're going to look back and say, you know, I shouldn't have done that. It's just something that you're going to regret. It's just something unnecessary because you haven't done anything, you haven't proved anything to the other person, you haven't changed their mind. And on top of that, you have now created problems in this relationship. The other thing to realize is that being argumentative is only a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wanting validation for your beliefs. It's really about wanting to affirm and assert your own self-worth and identity. Because if you had a strong mindset, then there will be no need for this. If you really believed in the things that you're arguing for, then you wouldn't need, to go around and prove yourself. You wouldn't need to go around and see if your beliefs are accepted on the outside, because you know them to be facts, you know them to be truths, so there will be no need for you to do that. So this shows you that you need to do some soul searching and figure out why you have these angry outbursts whenever you are met with an opposing idea, when someone is not reflecting to you your own beliefs, and you have this constant need to change their mind or to, make them accept your beliefs, your ideas. You have to ask yourself why you have that need and why you are easy prey to these things, why you are easily provoked by someone wanting to do that. Why are you giving them what they want? This is not necessarily about the other person. We'll get to that next. But for now, you have to ask yourself, why do I behave this way? Why am I reacting this way to such provocation from the outside? And why do I have the need to prove my beliefs or my ideas to others? And once you do that, the best conclusion that you're going to get, just to give you a hint, is that the answer is that it's the ego. It's the ego wanting to assert superiority and wanting to preserve pride. That's what the experts are telling us. And the thing is, this is all fake, it's all false, it's all an illusion, because you are neither superior nor inferior to anyone. And also, pride is a cardinal sin. Even God said so. So it shows you that there is no need for these things. You can just let it go, and this will save you a ton of time and energy that you're looking to put out there in order to prove yourself. You simply don't need to do that. The other thing is, to be careful not to be the dumping site of other people's emotional garbage, by giving them what they want through arguing, shouting, crying, all these things that they are feeding off of in order to feel better about themselves. Because some people are really looking forward for these sessions where you're going to meet them where they are. There will be insults, you will clash, you will fight. And this is what they're looking forward to, because it helps them, maybe regulate their emotions, maybe deal with their own demons, and they're using you for that. And you have to be careful not to be played that way, because, it's even romanticized, these things in movies, in books, for people to let out their emotions and say all these hurtful things. But the thing is, this is not something to look back at and be happy about. It's not something that you're going to have in common. It's something that you have said to each other that is going to create a lot of hurt, a lot of wounds. And I don't think you should romanticize this in any way. And this is something that you should avoid at all costs in order to keep your peace. And you also have to be reminded, you have to remind yourself of all these teachings, of all these ancient teachings who were known for their profound insight and truths. In this particular one that goes, those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. This is true for any scenario. And especially when you are being provoked to speak, when you'd rather be silent, when you're choosing silence, when you're literally being poked to speak, you have to remind yourself of this truth and keep your mouth shut. It's to simply understand that the truth does not need defending. It does not need you to defend it constantly. It's here, it's always here. It's not going away even if the entire world is against it. It has that kind of power, it's very resilient. So this kind of gives you a break. I mean, you don't need to be on the constant lookout. You don't need to defend it, and you don't need to cause problems for yourself while doing that. And instead of creating problems in your relationships by fiercely defending your truth, which also means now you're cornering them to defend theirs, even with lies, you can instead lead them to see the truth for themselves, while also looking like a badass, because you didn't have to speak, you didn't have to say anything, and yet the truth spoke for you. And this is the case in any scenario. Sooner or later, the truth will come out. And the thing is, some relationships are more worth to you. They have more value to you than just winning an argument, than just you being the one who's always right. So you have to think of it this way. They have more value to you. Some of these things you can simply let go. And one of the ways to do that is not to engage, not to be provoked, and not to provoke others that way. And finally, it's important that you try and understand the other person, the other party. Even when they are provoking you, when they are touching all your trigger points in order to get you to react, it's important to try and understand them. Because when you catch the motive, you're going to save yourself from this nasty back and forth that you don't need, and you'll keep your peace. And you'll also save that person from themselves. And that's very noble.